Let's talk about 5 ways to prepare for the coming recession. Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Heiser Says. I thought I'd do something a little different today. I thought we'd just talk about 5 ways you could prepare for the coming recession. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a father, married husband, small business owner, and someone with nearly 40 years lived experience. So I'm going to draw upon that and just share some ideas and stories that I thought might help some people. At the very least, it'll get a good discussion going in the comments. Now, doing videos about the coming housing crash or the recession heading, they seem to be very, very popular at the moment. So I don't know if just Clive Palmer is plastering them with ads, but a lot of people seem to be watching them, at least for a channel my size, and people are interested and people are worried, which is understandable. So let's talk about 5 ways to prepare. 5 ways to prepare that everyone should be able to do to some extent or another. And this is in no particular order, just how I put it together on my presentation here. Now, the first way is to consolidate your debt. Consolidate all your debt. I'm sure everyone knows about this. And a story from my father's past. Now, years ago, my father, he had a successful business in Melbourne, a construction company, a drafting company. And when we moved to Queensland, it wasn't as successful. But he was still using the same accountant. And the accountant said, well, one smart thing you can do is keep all these business credit cards that you have so you can write off the interest rather than paying them off. You can imagine what happened. The interest, you could write it off. Sure, sounded good in the short term, but it created additional costs and additional expense. When if you don't have the same level of cash flow going through in Queensland compared to Melbourne, then that's going to cause an issue. And of course, it got to the point where it's just you're writing off interest purely for the sake of writing off interest rather than paying off capital. And the solution, obviously, was just to clear it all off, pay off the debt, and to not take advantage of that, good investment there and writing off that interest. So that's one thing I suggest that everyone looks at. We did that ourselves a few years ago. I took care of, cleaned it all off, got rid of all the credit card debt, everything. That's how we actually took advantage of our property price rise. I used it to clear off all of our other debts, except for our house now, which I'm quite happy with. It's much more manageable. It's a much cheaper rate. And I would encourage you as the number one thing to prepare is to consolidate your debt, to get rid of the high interest credit card debt. Number one, that's you don't want that. That's just a drug of evilness right there. And the only reason I still have one is just because it's convenient to tap and go. That's it. But you don't need to rack up anything on it. That'd be number one. First thing to prepare would be to consolidate your debt. I know there are some businesses that can help you do that if you're experiencing financial trouble, that specialize in that, and they'll talk to the banks and the other organizations that you owe money with to kind of help you sort it out. And I'd encourage you to go to them. I'd also encourage you to seek professional advice. But that's my number one suggestion. The first thing to do is to look at consolidating all your debts and getting rid of the expensive ones as fast as you can. So, number 2, the second item on my list to prepare is to reduce your expenses. Now, this one, it can creep up on you. It really can, because you're thinking, oh yeah, $10 a month here, $5 a month here, $5 a day here. If the money's flowing in, you don't notice it. You do not notice it. But one of the challenges of having a small business, particularly with varying payment terms or builders that don't pay you or go bust, is all of a sudden, boom, the cash flow could be, delayed by 120 days. And what you want to do is you want to just get a handle of all of these little things that you've spent on. Netflix is one. We had Netflix. When you first get it, it seems good. It seems really good, but it is pretty crap. I don't know. All of these online things. I get most of my content when I'm not working or when I'm relaxed. We're playing with the kids. They're probably watching cartoons or something, not on Netflix. I'll watch YouTube or I'll play games. So that would be an example of a little cost. Another would be they all add up. Another will be LinkedIn. I had a LinkedIn premium membership that was like, I think $14 a month. I got it right when you could, right at the beginning. You can't get them anymore. So I held on to that for a couple of years just for the simple sake of having that. But, that adds up. Other ones are, the typical one is your gym membership. How many people have gym memberships and don't actually make use of them? What I would encourage you to do is to look at particularly, Aldi, one of my favorite shops, and Dick Smith's least favorite shop. When they have gym equipment for sale, you can get it pretty cheap, or you can even go to the auctions and get gym equipment pretty good because of the gyms that are all shutting down. But just compare that to your membership, because often they'll get you to sign up to a contract, and having it sitting, your own equipment sitting in the garage, or I've got a little room set up for it. Not that you could tell because I've been pretty slack, but rather than spending on a membership, is just maybe investing in the equipment, buying it outright just as you need it. Start up with a bench, and then maybe get some dumbbells, and just slowly buy it as you go to kind of reduce that from a recurring expense to just the little capital outlay. Maybe go to a garage sale and get some stuff secondhand so you can save some money. Wait for the Aldi catalog sale. Tell a family member who wants to get you a present, just buy me some dumbbells or buy me some plates for my bar. Things like that, rather than having that, turning what's an expense into just a capital expenditure, getting rid of it. Another one, and this is, I know, a topical issue, because I admitted a secret the other day on a video that I've been drinking in my steins Aldi coffee. And I've gotten used to it. Now, I used to be quite a coffee connoisseur, or shall we say, wanker or snob. And it's quite funny. When I first started dating Rachel, I'd go visit her mother's house, and her mother would only ever have instant coffee because she wasn't a big coffee drinker. So she'd make me instant. And I'd always say yes, not to be rude, and I'd take one or two sips and I'd leave it there. And now, nearly a decade later, it's completely flipped, where Rachel's mother is the coffee connoisseur and the snob, and she'll like her nice coffees. And I've gone, the full bogan, Aldi coffee, I'll take it, it's medicine. I've grown a tolerance to it, and I'll make that for people if they don't like it. So I can appreciate both sides of the argument, but the reason I'm putting this or mentioning coffee is that daily coffee that you get, that $5 a day, that adds up. If you're going to work and you need your morning coffee, which I completely understand and am not discouraging you from getting, but just think about it. That's $5 for a coffee. And then you want something, you need a little energy hit, so you buy another thing. That's $10. Oh, you forgot your lunch. That's another $12. You spent $20 in the day, for really nothing that you couldn't have gotten from home. So think about those little expenditures. Here's a challenge. Try and do a week without spending any money. So preparing all your lunches for a week, taking your coffee, making it at home and taking it with you. Particularly if you're not working at home, try and do it for a week and see how much you save. Just see how much money bleeds away on these type of little niggling expenses. And that would be my top hint there. Although seeing this, I kind of want a coffee again now. I drink a lot of coffee, guys. You may have noticed, like not just as in the size of a half-liter Stein. I'll drink it several times a day, which, I'm sure it's healthy. I'm guaranteed it's healthy. It'll help my hair grow back. That's what I've been told. So, third thing, that's really, just about reducing your income. Reducing your expenses, getting an understanding of what's happening. Where you could, and maybe even doing a budget, because when times are good, well, not even a budget really, more just an assessment or a review. Take a step back and look where everything's going, where all the money is flowing out, so you get an understanding of it, and then just start chipping away at stuff bit by bit. It's not all going to be perfect right away, but once you get a handle of it, because these little things all add up. One thing you may also want to do, if you don't recognize a credit card payment, cancel the credit card, or contact the credit card company to follow something up. Maybe you signed a contract or something years ago and you've forgotten about it. So the third one is, this is an example of what not to do, is to diversify your income. Okay, look at diversifying your income stream. Now, this is going to be easier or harder depending on what you do. If you're an employee, it may be a bit harder. Maybe you could look at doing something on the side. One thing not to do is to fall for easy money or for the scams that are out there, particularly that very prevalent in the crypto sector last year. And I'll give you one example of what we did. one example of what we did. Now, we're an architectural practice, but we also have a point cloud business where we will scan people's premises for them. You can see here. And you do this when you start a project. I mean, we invested in the equipment because we needed to do it for our own jobs. We just needed to scan it. So the other day I went and scanned a little house where Rachel's working on a whole extension. My mother's house that she bought, or townhouse, I scanned all of that because then we could measure up exactly how much flooring we need, remodel certain things, maybe make an extension onto it. You get all the information there rather than doing it with a tape measure or a laser. You'd never want to do that again. But what we did to diversify our income stream is we set it up so people could hire the equipment, because these scanners aren't cheap. They're like, 40 to 100 grand, depending on what you get. So, I've got the whole website there where you can book your scanner hire, and you got, different rates, all done online, all through PayPal, and different tutorials that the boys have put together. This is an example of where we took our business, scanning, and we diversified our income to also include hiring. So rather than us, people can hire the scanner for a day, $500, it's nothing for a big job, and let them capture that data and experiment with them themselves. That's an example. That's really from a business perspective. If you're an employee, look at maybe, is there a hobby you could do that could turn some money? Everyone goes to Uber. And I did Uber for a while. I've kind of stepped back from it just because, I don't know, I probably wasn't putting enough time into it. Well, no, to be honest, for me, the biggest concern with Uber was when I was driving down the Gold Coast, I had two women in the back snorting cocaine and wouldn't stop it when I asked them to. And I thought that was quite rude. And it just kind of took the shine off it, because I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. The money is pretty bad. I mean, it's not that good, but if it keeps your mortgage paid, if it keeps your family in a house, you do it. So, that's a good, easy way to get into it. But now that the government's gotten involved, it's gotten much more expensive to get into that business. You need to have your car. You need to get it assessed. You need to buy a license. You need a taxi cab license. All these other things, particularly in Queensland, they've added all this stuff to it. So it's like $1,000 to just do it. And the amount of Uber that I was doing, on the weekend, on the holidays, yeah, sure. But when you add the petrol and everything else, I wasn't doing it enough. But if you need to, that's one thing to consider. Maybe even just prepare to have that in your back pocket. Other ways you could diversify. Looking at, if you're a professional, maybe you could provide services as well online. Just think of smarter ways you can do things. But really, it's a bit up in the air. I wouldn't be trying to sell products and services to your friends, like Amway and all that crap, because that never works. I don't know of anyone that can make any money from that, or at least I wouldn't be buying that, because that will come to the next thing. Because you've got to remember, if tough times are coming, everyone is doing the same thing, so they're going to be cutting their expenses. One thing that does increase during a recession is the smaller luxuries. I think you can, lipstick is an example where women will buy lipstick more when there's a recession than not. So the fourth suggestion is to actually shop less often. Okay, don't go shopping every week. Don't go shopping every fortnight. See if you can push out your food shop to once a month. We've done it. We have managed to do it with all of our children, and we did get it to once a month. We got our shop to once a month. Now, where we've gone on the keto diet, we've had to go down to fortnight, just because of what we're buying. It's also perishable. But you want to get larger shops in big chunks, so you can put the money aside and just do 1 or 2 trips to the shops. You don't end up going lots of smaller shopping trips, because then you're getting lots of incidental things. You're buying stuff you don't need to. If you're going to go out on the weekend, go somewhere where you don't need to spend any money. Take a picnic, go to the park, go to the library. So just think of removing the temptation, removing the opportunity to go out there and spend money on these things. And that's one way to do it, is just to do bigger shops less often. We've had a lot of success with that. So the fifth thing, the final thing, is to understand that this is a team effort. And you need to look at it, particularly if you're in a family, husband, wife. This is from my experience. So one thing you want to think about is, if you're doing all of this, but your partner isn't, if they're not involved or in the game, or they're still wasting money, it's not going to work. You need to sit down together and do this as a team. And one thing you might consider, is it worth both of you working? is if you've got children, if you have children, is it worth having both of you working, or would it be more cost effective to have someone at home? So all of this meal preparation, all of these other things are done at home. So you've got someone who's contributing to the family by cooking all your meals, preparing all your lunches, making your coffee for you, repairing your clothing. Because think about it, once you pay for childcare, once you do all the driving around for that, once you've got all these costs, and then everything else is more expensive. Your food's more expensive because you're eating out more. Everyone's too tired to cook. You need to sit down as a family and discuss that, because we found with 3 kids, and now that we're homeschooling, it's much more effective to keep Rachel here. But see, it's a bit different for us because, Rachel's at home full time, but, so am I, and she's still working on projects after hours. So we've got a lot more flexibility than other people. So I don't really expect everyone to be able to do that. That's kind of how our life has been, the decisions we've made, how they've led to. But you need to, weigh up, actually, go against the culture. Question, do we both need to work? Maybe, okay, we take that monetary hit, but look at your budget and look at where you can find savings, and you may be a more efficient unit. Another thing to consider is if there's a recession, you've got one person bringing in the money. If that person loses their job, then you both have the capacity to look for jobs. And your expenses have already adjusted to work off one income. What happens if you're both working here, and your expenses are at this level, being barely met by both of you? If one person loses a job, you're actually in much worse condition because you have to desperately go and take a job, rather than if you have, maybe your partner could do a half job there and ease the burden a little bit. It's something to consider, and it's often not something that a lot of people would dare to think about, because they think, oh, what am I giving up? I need to work this 60 hours a week to come home with an extra, $500 after all the expenses and daycare and pain in the ass gets added up. You might be surprised at what it's actually worth. The amount of time you're sacrificing away from your kids, especially. Have a think. So guys, I thought I'd just share these things. I'll go over them again. Number 1 is consolidate your debt. Number 2 is reduce your monthly expenses any way you can, particularly the little ones, because they add up. Number 3 is diversify your income and avoid the cons. Avoid the cons. It may be tempting. You'll see like this idiot. I saw him in videos pushing BitConnect. Yes. And it's a Ponzi scam. It was a complete scam. A lot of people lost a lot of their money. And the problem is, if you're in a desperate situation, you tend to, you're more likely to fall victim to these type of things. But find ways to diversify. Even if it's a little bit here and there, it doesn't hurt. It all adds up. Shop less often. Do bigger shops less often. Try and get it once a month. Try and get it once a fortnight. Look at ways you can remove that temptation from you. And finally, realize that it's a team effort. You need to be in this with your partner. If you're by yourself, fantastic. That should be really easy. But also, your friends. You need to think, if your friends will only meet with you out at at the club or out at the coffee shop, maybe say, oh, why don't we go have a picnic? Why don't we have a barbecue? Do something, I'm trying to save some money. Why don't we go for a bushwalk? There's plenty of free stuff you can do that doesn't cost money. And I've got a 6th special way to prepare for the recession that I just thought about. So this one is really aimed at the younger guys, or the guys my age who've been desk jockeys their whole lives. Is to become the handyman your dad was, to learn skills, to get out of your comfort zone. And you've got here, this is me welding parts of a boat trailer together that I'd inherited to make sure I could get it to Brisbane. I'd never used a welder before, and you can see by my form it's terrible, but I got it working. I figured out how to do it, and I learned a new skill. And as an architect, you tend to spend way too much time in the office and not enough time on the tools, or any at all, to be honest. And I thought that was something I wanted to add here, because you can save time, you can save money, and you can learn skills. You don't need to bring an electrician in to change a light bulb, guys. You can change the oil in your car and repair a lot of the things yourself. You can work on your house yourself. Okay? These are skills that you can learn. I'd suggest going to the men's sheds, but they've all been invaded by the women. But yeah, that's a special number 6, is to improve your handyman game. Learn skills that you wouldn't have known otherwise. To save money. And even to make money. That could be a way also to diversify your income. You never know. You can't be too proud to do things when times get tough. So let me know what you think, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. Ding the bell. Leave your comments below. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye for now.